Sarah Martinez stood in the rain outside the military recruitment office, clutching her rejection letter with shaking hands. The words burned in her mind. Female candidates are not suitable for sniper training programs. She had scored higher than any male recruit in marksmanship tests, but it didn't matter. The year was 2003, and the military's old-fashioned thinking still dominated. Growing up on a ranch in Montana, Sarah learned to shoot before she could properly ride a bike. Her father, a former Marine, taught her that accuracy wasn't about strength or size. It was about patience, breathing, and understanding your weapon. By age 16, she could hit a target at 800 yards with her father's old hunting rifle. Local shooting competitions became too easy for her. When Sarah turned 18, she knew exactly what she wanted to do. She wanted to serve her country as a sniper, using her natural talent to protect fellow soldiers. But the recruitment officer, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, barely looked at her test scores. He simply shook his head and handed her the standard rejection form. "Try nursing or communications," he suggested with a patronizing smile. "Those fields need good women like you." Sarah felt her anger rise, but she kept her voice steady. "Sir, I outshot every male recruit here by at least 20 points. My accuracy rate is 96%. The officer shrugged. "Rules are rules, miss. Sniper units are no place for women. It's dangerous work that requires physical strength and mental toughness that, frankly, women don't possess." Walking home that evening, Sarah made a decision that would change everything. If the military wouldn't accept her as a sniper, she would find another way to serve. She enlisted as a regular infantry soldier, planning to prove herself from the inside. Her drill sergeants were surprised by her shooting abilities during basic training, but the sniper program remained closed to her. During her first deployment to Afghanistan, Sarah's unit was assigned to a forward operating base in a dangerous mountain region. Taliban fighters regularly attacked their position, and the unit's designated marksmen struggled with the long-range shots needed to keep enemies at bay. Sarah watched through binoculars as enemy fighters positioned themselves on distant ridges, knowing she could easily eliminate the threats if given the chance. Her commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel James Rodriguez, was a fair man who believed in merit over prejudice. He noticed Sarah's exceptional performance during firefights and her uncanny ability to spot enemy positions before anyone else. When their unit's marksman was wounded in an ambush, Rodriguez faced a difficult decision. "Martinez," he called her, over one evening. "I've seen your shooting scores from basic training. Think you can handle some long-range work?" Sarah's heart raced, but she kept her expression calm. "Yes, sir. I'm ready for whatever you need." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "This isn't official, you understand. If anyone asks, you're just providing extra security. But I need someone who can make the shots our current marksman can't." That night, Sarah cleaned and prepared her rifle with the same care her father had taught her years ago. She knew this was her chance to prove that gender had nothing to do with being an effective sniper. The mountains of Afghanistan would become her testing ground, and she was determined not to waste this opportunity. As she lay in her bunk, Sarah thought about all the people who had doubted her abilities simply because she was a woman. Tomorrow she would begin to show them just how wrong they were. The rejected recruit was about to become something the military had never seen before, a female sniper whose skills would soon save lives and change military policy forever. The stage was set for Sarah to prove that accuracy, patience, and dedication knew no gender boundaries. Her journey from rejection to recognition was just beginning, and the mountains of Afghanistan would witness the birth of a legend. The Afghan mountains were unforgiving in the early morning cold. Sarah adjusted her position on the rocky outcrop, her breath forming small clouds in the thin air. 3 days had passed since Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez gave her the unofficial role of long-range security, and she hadn't fired a single shot yet. The waiting was the hardest part. Through her scope, she studied the valley below where her unit was conducting a patrol. Intelligence reports suggested Taliban fighters were using the surrounding hills to plan ambushes, but finding them required patience and sharp eyes. Sarah had both. Her radio crackled softly. "Overwatch, this is Patrol Leader. We're approaching Checkpoint Alpha. Any movement up there?" Sarah scanned the ridgelines methodically, just as her father had taught her during those long hunting trips in Montana. Every rock, every shadow, every unnatural shape caught her attention. Then she saw it, a glint of metal from a cave entrance about 600 yards away. Patrol leader. I've got possible hostile movement. Bearing 270, range 6. 100 meters. Looks like someone's setting up in the cave system. Can you confirm hostile intent? Sarah adjusted her scope's magnification and waited. Patience was everything in this job. After 5 minutes, she saw what she needed. A man in military clothing positioning what looked like an RPG launcher. Confirmed hostile with anti-tank weapon. He's targeting your route. Take the shot if you have it, Overwatch. Sarah's heart pounded, but her hands remained steady. This was the moment she'd trained for her entire life. She controlled her breathing just like her father taught her. In, out, halfway in, hold, squeeze. The rifle kicked against her shoulder, and through the scope she watched the threat disappear. Her first combat shot as an unofficial sniper was a clean hit at 600 yards. Target down. Patrol route is clear. Outstanding work, Overwatch. That RPG would have taken out our lead vehicle. Over the following weeks, Sarah's reputation grew quietly within the unit. She eliminated 3 more threats, each shot clean and precise. The soldiers began to trust the voice on the radio that watched over them from the mountains. Most didn't, even though their guardian angel was the same woman they'd seen cleaning rifles around the camp. But not everyone was pleased with Sarah's success. Sergeant First Class Mike Thompson, a veteran with traditional views, complained loudly about women being given combat roles. It's not natural, he told anyone who would listen. Women don't belong in combat positions. What happens when she breaks down under pressure? What happens when she has to carry a wounded soldier? Sarah overheard these conversations but chose to let her performance speak for itself. She knew that every shot she made was not just protecting her unit. It was proving a point about what women could accomplish when given the opportunity. The real test came during a major operation to clear a Taliban stronghold from a strategic mountain pass. Intelligence indicated heavy resistance, and the unit would need all the long-range support they could get. Rodriguez pulled Sarah aside the night before the mission. Martinez, tomorrow is going to be intense. Multiple targets, long ranges, and a lot of pressure. Are you ready for this? Sarah nodded confidently. I'm ready, sir. My rifle is zeroed, and I know those mountains like the back of my hand now. Good. Because if this goes well, I'm going to recommend you for official sniper training. The military needs people with your skills, regardless of what the old policies say. That night, Sarah wrote a letter to her father back in Montana. She told him about the mountains, the responsibility she felt for her fellow soldiers, and how his training had prepared her for this moment. She didn't mention the controversy around her gender, or the doubts others had expressed. Instead, she focused on the pride she felt in serving her country and protecting her brothers and sisters in arms. As dawn approached, Sarah took her position on a high ridge overlooking the valley where the operation would unfold. She had 6 different firing positions mapped out and range cards prepared for each likely target area. Her unofficial role as the unit's guardian angel was about to face its biggest challenge yet. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Afghan landscape, and Sarah knew that before the day was over, her shooting skills would be tested like never before. The rejected recruit had become an effective protector, but the biggest test was still ahead. The morning mist clung to the valley floor as Sarah watched through her scope. Operation Mountain Thunder was about to begin, and she could see her unit moving into position far below. The Taliban stronghold sat like a fortress on the opposite mountainside, with multiple cave entrances and defensive positions carved into the rock. Overwatch, this is Thunder Leader. Rodriguez's voice came through her radio. We're beginning our approach. Keep your eyes open up there. Sarah had spent the previous evening studying satellite photos and mapping every possible shooting lane. Her position gave her a commanding view of the entire valley, but it also meant she was alone on the mountain, with no backup if things went wrong. The first shots came from the Taliban positions at exactly 0800 hours. Muzzle flashes erupted from cave entrances as automatic weapons opened fire on the advancing American soldiers. Sarah immediately began scanning for targets, her training taking over as chaos erupted below. Thunder Leader, I've got multiple hostiles in the cave system. Give me targets of opportunity. Overwatch, we're taking heavy fire from the upper caves. Can you suppress those positions? Sarah found her first target, a machine gunner positioned in a cave entrance about 700 yards away. The shot was challenging due to the angle and the fact that only the shooter's upper body was visible. She steadied her breathing and squeezed the trigger. The machine gun fell silent. Upper cave machine gun is down, she reported. Confirmed. That's good shooting, Overwatch. But the Taliban had more fighters than intelligence had suggested. As soon as one position went quiet, another would open fire. Sarah moved between her prepared firing positions, engaging targets as they appeared. Her rifle barrel grew hot from repeated firing, but her shots remained accurate. The battle intensified when Taliban reinforcements arrived from the neighboring valleys. Sarah watched through her scope as enemy fighters moved along mountain trails, trying to flank her unit. She began engaging these new threats at ranges exceeding 800 yards, each shot carefully calculated for wind, distance, and elevation. Thunder Leader, you've got approximately 20 fighters moving to flank your left side. Range 850 to 900 meters. I'm engaging now. Sarah's father had always told her that mountain shooting was different from range shooting. The thin air, changing winds, and steep angles all affected bullet trajectory. But growing up in Montana had prepared her for exactly these conditions. She adjusted her scope and began methodically eliminating the flanking force. One by one, the threats disappeared. Sarah's precision shooting had broken up the flanking attempt before it could threaten her unit. But the main assault on the stronghold was still facing heavy resistance. Overwatch, we need fire support on the main cave entrance. We can't get close enough to use our explosives. Sarah studied the target through her scope. The main cave was nearly 900 yards away, and Taliban fighters were using the entrance to fire down on her unit with devastating effect. The shot would be one of the longest she'd ever attempted in combat conditions. She moved to her highest firing position, a rocky ledge that gave her the best angle on the target. The wind was variable, switching direction every few minutes as mountain thermals changed with the rising sun. Sarah pulled out her range card and made careful calculations. Thunder Leader, I need you to mark the target with smoke if possible. This is a long shot and I want to make sure I'm hitting the right cave. Roger, Overwatch, smoke out. A purple smoke grenade landed near the cave entrance, confirming Sarah's target identification. She settled into her shooting position and controlled her breathing. At this range, everything had to be perfect. Her position, her grip, her breathing, her trigger pull. The first shot missed by inches, striking the rock face next to the cave entrance. Sarah quickly adjusted for the mountain winds and fired, again. This time she saw one of the fighters in the cave entrance stumble and fall. Hit confirmed on the main cave. Resistance is decreasing. Outstanding, Overwatch. You're breaking their defense. Sarah continued to provide precision fire support as her unit advanced up the mountainside. By noon, the Taliban stronghold was overrun, and the valley fell silent except for the occasional radio check. Operation Mountain Thunder was a complete success, with minimal American casualties thanks in large part to Sarah's Overwatch protection. As the unit regrouped in the captured stronghold, Sarah packed her rifle and began the long walk down from her mountain position. She had fired 23 shots during the battle, with 21 confirmed hits at ranges from 400 to 900 yards. It was a performance that would have impressed any sniper unit in the military. When she reached the valley floor, Rodriguez was waiting for her with the expression of amazement and respect. Martinez, I've been in the Army for 15 years and I've never seen shooting like that. You saved lives today, maybe dozens of them. Sarah simply nodded, still focused on the technical aspects of the engagement. The conditions were challenging, sir, but the fundamentals held true. Good position, good range estimation, and patience. Well, your fundamentals just changed military policy. I'm putting you in for official sniper training, and I don't care what the Pentagon says about it. That evening, as Sarah cleaned her rifle in the captured stronghold, she thought about how far she'd come from that rejection letter outside the recruitment office. The valley below was now secure, her unit was safe, and she had proven beyond any doubt that gender had nothing to do with being an effective sniper. But she had no idea that her greatest challenge was still ahead. 3 weeks after Operation Mountain Thunder, Word came down that a high-ranking general was coming to visit their forward operating base. General Patricia Hayes, one of the few female generals in the Army, was conducting an inspection tour of units in Afghanistan. The visit was supposed to be routine, but everyone knew it was really about evaluating combat effectiveness and troop morale. Sarah had mixed feelings about the visit. Rodriguez had already submitted his recommendation for her sniper training, but it was stuck somewhere in the Pentagon bureaucracy. Maybe having a female general see her work firsthand would help push things through. The base was cleaned and organized for 3 days straight. Every piece of equipment was inspected, every uniform was pressed, and every soldier rehearsed their duties. Sarah continued her Overwatch missions, but the mountain valleys had been quiet since the stronghold operation. It seemed like the Taliban had moved their operations to other areas. General Hayes arrived on a Tuesday morning via helicopter, accompanied by her aide and 2 security specialists. She was a compact woman in her 50s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Sarah watched from a distance as the general toured the base, speaking with soldiers and reviewing operational reports. During the afternoon briefing, Rodriguez presented the unit's recent achievements, including the successful Mountain Thunder operation. He specifically mentioned the exceptional marksmanship support that had made the mission possible, though he didn't identify Sarah by name. "Sir, your Overwatch specialist eliminated 21 targets at ranges up to 900 yards, Rodriguez reported. "This level of precision fire support was crucial to our success." General Hayes raised an eyebrow. 900 yards in mountain conditions is impressive shooting. I'd like to meet this marksman." Rodriguez glanced at Sarah, who was standing with the other soldiers at the back of the briefing room. "Actually, ma'am, Specialist Martinez is right here." The room fell silent as General Hayes turned to look at Sarah. For a moment, the general's expression was unreadable. Then she walked over and extended her hand. "Specialist Martinez, I understand you've been doing exceptional work out there." "Thank you, ma'am," Sarah replied, shaking the general's hand firmly. "I'm just doing my job. 21 confirmed hits at long range isn't just doing your job, soldier. That's extraordinary marksmanship under combat conditions." After the briefing, General Hayes requested a private meeting with Rodriguez and Sarah. They walked to the base's observation post where Sarah's rifle was still set up for the evening watch. "Show me your setup, Martinez," the general said. Sarah explained her system, the range cards, the multiple firing positions, the way she tracked wind patterns and adjusted for mountain conditions. General Hayes listened intently, asking technical questions that showed she understood long-range shooting. "Where did you learn to shoot like this?" the general asked. "My father taught me, ma'am. We hunted together in Montana from the time I was little. He was a Marine sniper in Vietnam." "And why aren't you in a sniper unit?" Sarah hesitated, unsure how to answer diplomatically. Rodriguez stepped in. "Ma'am, Martinez was rejected for sniper training during recruitment. The official reason was that women weren't eligible for sniper programs." General Hayes nodded grimly. "I'm familiar with those policies. They're outdated and counterproductive. The military needs the best shooters, regardless of gender." The next morning brought an unexpected development. Intelligence reports indicated that a high-value Taliban commander was moving through the area with a small convoy. The target was someone they'd been hunting for months, a bomb maker responsible for attacks that had killed dozens of American soldiers. The convoy was expected to pass through a valley about 12 miles from the base, but by the time a response team could be organized and deployed, the target would be long gone. The only option was to position someone on the overlooking mountain to take out the target when the convoy passed through. "It's a difficult shot," Rodriguez explained to General Hayes. "The range would be over 1,000 yards, and we'd only have a small window of opportunity." "Can your marksman make that shot?" the general asked. Rodriguez looked at Sarah. "What do you think, Martinez? It's further than anything you've attempted in combat." Sarah considered the challenges. 1,200 yards was at the extreme range of her rifle system, and she'd never attempted a shot that far under combat conditions. But the target was a terrorist who had killed American soldiers, and this might be the only chance to stop him. "I can make the shot, ma'am," she told General Hayes. But I'll need to get into position early and have perfect conditions. General, Hayes studied Sarah for a long moment. This is completely voluntary, Specialist. No one would fault you for saying the shot is too difficult. Sarah shook her head. Ma'am, if there's a chance to take out this bomb maker, I want to try. My rifle can reach that far, and I've made similar shots on the range back home. Then we go, the general decided. I want to observe this operation personally. That evening, Sarah, Rodriguez, and General Hayes flew by helicopter to a mountain position overlooking the target valley. Sarah set up her rifle on a rocky ledge with a clear view of the road below. The distance to the kill zone was exactly 1,247 yards, the longest shot she'd ever attempted in combat. As they waited for dawn and the expected convoy, General Hayes sat beside Sarah and asked about her background, her training, and her goals. Sarah found herself opening up to the general about her frustrations with military policy and her desire to serve in a sniper unit. You know, the general said quietly, sometimes it takes one exceptional person to change an entire system. Your performance here could open doors for every woman who wants to serve as a sniper. As the sun rose over the Afghan mountains, Sarah prepared for the shot that would define not just her career, but the future of women in combat roles. The rejected recruit was about to attempt something that would prove once and for all that accuracy knew no gender. The morning air was perfectly still as Sarah adjusted her rifle scope for the third time. At 1,247 yards, every detail mattered. The temperature was rising with the sun, which would affect air density. The humidity was low, typical for the Afghan mountains. Most importantly, there was almost no wind, conditions she might never see again at this location. General Hayes lay beside her with binoculars, watching the valley road. Rodriguez monitored radio communications from their helicopter pilot, who was circling at a safe distance to spot the convoy's approach. Overwatch, this is Eye in the Sky. The pilot's voice crackled through the radio. I have 3 vehicles approaching from the east, 2 pickup trucks and 1 sedan, approximately 10 minutes from your target zone. Sarah made final adjustments to her scope. At this range, she was at the very limit of her rifle's effective distance. The bullet would take nearly 2 seconds to reach the target and would drop more than 30 feet due to gravity. She had calculated wind drift, bullet drop, and even the rotation of the earth in her firing solution. Martinez, General Hayes said quietly, I want you to know that regardless of what happens here, your performance over the past month has been extraordinary. You've already proven your point. Sarah nodded but kept her focus on the scope. Thank you, ma'am, but I want to make this shot. This bomb maker has killed too many good soldiers. Eye in the Sky to Overwatch, convoy is 5 minutes out. Target vehicle is the black sedan in the middle. Sarah could see dust clouds in the distance now. The convoy was moving at a steady pace along the mountain road. She had identified the exact spot where she would take the shot, a straight section of road with no cover, where the target vehicle would be visible for approximately 8 seconds. 4 minutes out, the pilot reported. Sarah controlled her breathing and settled into her final shooting position. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. At long range, everything has to be perfect. Your position, your breathing, your sight, picture, and your follow-through. 3 minutes. General Hayes was silent now, watching through her binoculars. Sarah could sense the tension, but her own mind was completely calm. This was what she had trained for her entire life. 2 minutes. I can see the vehicles clearly now. Sarah placed her finger on the trigger and began her final breathing cycle. In, out, halfway in, hold. The crosshairs were steady on the road where the sedan would appear. 1 minute. Target vehicle is the black sedan with 2 occupants in front. The first pickup truck appeared in Sarah's scope, moving from right to left across her field of view. Then came the black sedan. Through her scope, she could see 2 figures in the front seats. Intelligence photos had shown the bomb maker always sat in the front passenger seat. Target acquired, Sarah whispered. Time seemed to slow as the sedan moved through her crosshairs. Sarah had to lead the target slightly to account for the vehicle's movement during the bullet's 2-second flight time. She squeezed the trigger with steady, even pressure. The rifle recoiled against her shoulder, and Sarah immediately worked the bolt to chamber another round, keeping her eye on the scope. For what seemed like an eternity, nothing happened. Then, suddenly the sedan swerved off the road and crashed into a rocky embankment. "Hit!" General Hayes exclaimed. "The sedan is down!" The pickup truck stopped immediately, and armed men jumped out to check the sedan. Through her scope, Sarah could see them dragging two figures from the crashed vehicle. One was clearly dead, while the other appeared wounded. "Eye in the sky. Can you confirm the target is down?" Rodriguez asked. "Affirmative, Overwatch." "I can. See one KIA and one WIA from the sedan. The convoy is in complete disarray down there." Sarah kept her rifle trained on the area in case any of the Taliban fighters tried to set up a defensive position. But after a few minutes, they loaded the wounded man into one of the pickup trucks and departed at high speed. "Outstanding shot, Martinez," General Hayes said, lowering her binoculars. "That was one of the finest pieces of marksmanship I've ever witnessed." Sarah finally lifted her head from the scope. "Thank you, ma'am. The conditions were perfect for a long shot." "The conditions were perfect, but the shooter made the difference. Do you realize what you just accomplished?" Sarah shook her head. She was still focused on the technical aspects of the shot, the range, the environmental factors, the precise timing required. "You just made a 1-2-47-yard shot under combat conditions to eliminate a high-value target. There are maybe a dozen snipers in the entire U.S. military who could have made that shot, and you did it after being rejected from sniper school because you're a woman." As they packed up their equipment and prepared to return to base, General Hayes made a phone call on her satellite radio. Sarah couldn't hear the conversation, but she noticed the general's tone was firm and authoritative. During the helicopter ride back to base, General Hayes explained what would happen next. "Martinez, I just spoke with the Pentagon. Your performance today, combined with your record over the past month, has convinced them to open an immediate review of the sniper training program's gender restrictions." Sarah's heart raced. "What does that mean, ma'am?" "It means you're going to sniper school, specialist, and when you graduate, you'll be the first female sniper in U.S. Army history." Rodriguez smiled broadly. "Congratulations, Martinez, you've earned this." As the helicopter flew over the Afghan mountains, Sarah thought about the long journey from that rejection letter to this moment. The shot that had just eliminated a terrorist leader was the same shot that had shattered a barrier that had existed in the military for generations. The rejected recruit had become something unprecedented, living proof that skill and dedication mattered more than gender in the deadly art of precision shooting. 6 months later, Sarah stood at attention in the graduation ceremony for the U.S. Army Sniper School at Fort Benning, Georgia. She wore the same uniform as the 19 male soldiers beside her, but the moment carried weight far beyond a typical graduation. News cameras lined the back of the ceremony hall, and reporters waited outside to interview the first woman to complete the Army's elite sniper training program. The course had been brutal. Weeks of stalking exercises where instructors tried to spot camouflaged students crawling through forests and fields. Precision shooting tests at ranges from 300 to 1,000 yards in all weather conditions. Mental pressure designed to break students who couldn't handle the stress of being a sniper. Sarah's Afghan experience had prepared her well, but the school still pushed her to new limits. She learned advanced camouflage techniques, studied ballistics, theory, and mastered the art of reading wind and weather conditions. Most challenging were the psychological evaluations designed to ensure snipers could handle the mental stress of their role. "The modern battlefield requires the absolute best marksmen," the commandant announced during the graduation ceremony. "These graduates represent the finest precision shooters our military has ever produced." When Sarah's name was called, she stepped forward to receive her sniper badge and certificate. The applause was thunderous, not just from her fellow graduates and instructors, but from the audience of military officials who had come to witness this historic moment. After the ceremony, General Hayes, who had been promoted and now oversaw special operations training, pulled Sarah aside. "How does it feel to be a pioneer?" the general asked. "It feels like a beginning, ma'am," Sarah replied. "I hope other women will see this and know they can do it too." The media attention was overwhelming at first. Sarah found herself on magazine covers and television interviews, talking about her journey from rejection to graduation. But she always steered the conversation back to the same point. Military service should be about ability, not gender. Her first assignment as a qualified sniper took her back to Afghanistan, this time as the leader of a scout sniper team. Other team members, all male, had initially been skeptical about serving under a female sniper. That skepticism disappeared during their first mission, when Sarah eliminated 3 Taliban fighters at ranges exceeding 800 yards to protect a convoy. "She's the best shooter I've ever worked with," Sergeant Mike Chen told a reporter months later. Chen had been one of Sarah's harshest critics initially. "Gender doesn't matter when bullets are flying. What matters is whether you can make the shot when it counts, and Martinez never misses." Sarah's success opened doors throughout the military. The other service branches quickly revised their own sniper training policies, and within 2 years, women were graduating from Marine, Navy, and Air Force sniper schools. Each success built on the foundation Sarah had established with that 1,247-yard shot in the Afghan mountains. But the impact went beyond just sniping. Sarah's story became a catalyst for broader changes in military policy regarding women in combat roles. If a woman could excel as a sniper, one of the most demanding and dangerous positions in the military, then what other roles were being artificially restricted? 3 years after her graduation, Sarah received a letter that brought her full circle. It was from a 17-year-old girl in Montana who had read about Sarah's story and planned to enlist after high school. "I want to be a sniper like you," the girl wrote. "My dad taught me to shoot on our ranch, and I know I can do this. Thank you for showing me it's possible." Sarah wrote back immediately, encouraging the girl to pursue her dreams and offering advice about military service. It was the same encouragement Sarah wished she had received when she was facing rejection and discrimination. Now a staff sergeant with multiple combat deployments, Sarah was assigned to the sniper school as an instructor. She found deep satisfaction in training the next generation of military marksmen, both male and female. Her students consistently achieved some of the highest graduation rates in the program's history. What's the most important lesson you teach your students? A visiting journalist asked during one training session. Sarah considered the question while watching her students practice long-range shots on the 1,000-yard range. "Precision," she answered. "Everything else, the equipment, the tactics, the physical conditioning, all of that supports precision. If you can deliver a precise shot when it matters most, you can save lives and complete the mission. And that applies equally to male and female snipers." Sarah smiled. "Precision doesn't have a gender. A perfectly placed shot at 1,000 yards is the same whether it comes from a man or a woman. The only thing that matters is the result." 10 years after that first rejection letter, Sarah Martinez had become more than just a successful sniper. She had become a symbol of what was possible when the military judged people by their abilities rather than their gender. The ranch girl from Montana, who learned to shoot with her father's old hunting rifle, had changed military policy, inspired countless women, and proven that excellence knows no boundaries. The rejected recruit had not just found her place in the military, she had created a new place that would be available for generations of women to come. Her legacy lived on in every woman who graduated from sniper school, in every barrier that fell, and in every young girl who looked at Sarah's story and realized that her dreams were limited only by her determination to achieve them. Sarah's 1,247-yard shot had done more than eliminate a terrorist. It had shattered a ceiling that many thought would never break.